Pokemon recently launched the Regulation G format for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and you know what that means. The big boys are here. We've got your Groudons, your Kyogres, your Miraidons. Yeah, Miraidon is here. Everyone is here except the Gen 6 guys. They couldn't get their passports renewed in time, I guess. I'm someone who has very little experience playing competitive Pokemon, but after watching channels like Moxie Boosted, it made me want to give it a shot. But with the introduction of all these powerful mons back into the format, the power level has risen dramatically. Makes you wonder if trying to use your favorite Pokemon is even worth the effort. Jolteon has been my MVP, most valuable Pokemon, since I first got into the franchise back in 2013. But just because he is my favorite, doesn't mean he's good in VGC. When looking at Pika Analytics, Jolteon is on a whopping 0% of teams. Why is that? I don't know. He's a fast boy, decent special attack, far from a bad mon. The problem is, there are just stronger options. There aren't that many electric types running around right now, the main ones being Miraidon, Raging Bolt, and Iron Hands, although that last one has kind of fallen off. With a combination of weak coverage and not having its own niche, there really isn't any place for Jolteon in the current meta. At least, that's what everyone else says. Not me. I'm gonna make this boy work. But in order to do that, we're gonna need a team. Let me show you the team. We've got the leader Jolteon, able to throw out fast thunders and weather balls, and can set up rain if needed. Fluttermane, the most cracked mon, even faster than Jolteon, has Stab, Moonblast, and Shadow Ball, and some dazzling gleams for hitting both opponents. Ogerpon, this adorable little menace, is rocking the Wellspring mask to get that rain-boosted Ivy Cudgels. Chi-Yu, here to boost our special attackers and spam Snarl over our opponent's special attack. Then we have Tornadus. He'll act as support with Prankster Tailwind, and he can throw out Bleakwind Storms for some pretty decent damage. Then we have our chosen restricted mon, Kyogre. With his Drizzle ability, he can throw out devastating water spouts and thunders. With this all-star team, there's no way we can lose. Even as someone with as little battle experience as me, this team is probably pretty good, right? Starting off the battle, he does lead with Miraidon and Grimmsnarl. So we ended up having a very good lead because we're leading with our Fairy type against his Dragon and Dark types. So Chi-Yu isn't going to be overly helpful here, but he can spam Snarl to maybe lower these guys' special attack. But at the very least, Fluttermane is going to be able to hit these guys very hard. So right off the bat, turn 1, I decide I'm going to use my Terra. We can get a Terra boosted Dazzling Gleam. We should theoretically be able to do a lot of damage on these guys. And just get some extra chip in, I do Snarl. Hopefully we can lower that special attack if they do manage to survive, make them hit just a little bit less hard. So surprisingly enough, he also whips out his Terra turn 1, which I did not expect. So this is very unfortunate because he just lost his Fairy weakness, now being a pure electric type. Not to mention the Grimmsnarl storing out that Thunder Wave, which is going to slow down our Fluttermane and give us a chance of not being able to attack. And of course, the Miraidon manages to dodge the Snarl. So we're not off to a great start. And now because I'm paralyzed, the Miraidon is going to outspeed my Fluttermane. And it also gets the crit, completely demolishing my Fluttermane. So going into this battle, we're off to a pretty bad start with that first battle. So hopefully we can do a little bit better. And of course, we're already off to a terrible start. He leads with the Raging Bolt, which I really don't want as I just led with 2 water types. Although Ogerpon is a grass type too, so he's only going to take neutral damage. So I decide, I know he's going to hit my Kyogre with an electric type move. Let me send in my Jolteon, eat that thing up. Meanwhile, Ogerpon can beat on the Tornadus. So unfortunately though, what I didn't predict is I did not predict the Tornadus having Sunny Day, completely overriding my Rain and just boosting the special attack of that Raging Bolt. And unfortunately, I went for Ivy Cudgel, which is a water type move, so it's being halved by the sun, but it still does a pretty good amount of damage. So at this point I'm thinking, there's no way he sends another electric type move into my Jolteon slot. So let me whip the Kyogre back out, get my Rain going again, and finish off this Tornadus all in one fell swoop. So with Kyogre back out on the field, we set up that Drizzle, Sunny Day's gone, so now the Raging Bolt is weakened, but unfortunately he does set up that Tailwind, so now he's pretty much going to be exclusively outspeeding me. The Draco Meteor does hurt, but Ogerpon takes it like a champ, gets the Ivy Cudgel off, and we take out the Tornadus. So we're now leading 4-3, but Ogerpon is pretty weak, and they've got the Tailwind up. So we're still in a disadvantaged state. So at this point, he whips out his Koraidon, which overwrites our weather again. So now the Raging Bolt is more powerful, and the Koraidon's more powerful. So at this point, we're in a pretty crummy situation. At this point I decide, maybe I should leave the Kyogre in, I can Ice Beam, take out that Raging Bolt hopefully. But that still leaves my Ogerpon, I'm not really sure what I want to do with him. But I do eventually decide that I'm going to swap him out for my Jolteon. My thought process is I can maybe take a Draco Meteor if he fires into it. Surprisingly, he goes for a Flame Charge on my Kyogre, which Kyogre does eat. But there's still the problem of having that Sun out. And even more unfortunately, my Ice Beam does not do nearly as much damage as I thought it was going to do. So at this point, I decide, let's keep Kyogre. But we're gonna have to sack Ogerpon, unfortunately. And then I use Jolteon to set the Rain back up, because I don't think they're really gonna expect Jolteon to be running Rain Dance when you have Kyogre with its Drizzle ability. Surprisingly enough, they swap out their Raging Bolt, which I did not expect. And he sends in his Amoonguss. And if I'm being honest, this Amoonguss is not very good for us. Because besides a Sunny Day Weather Ball on Jolteon, which is about to go away, we have no real way of effectively taking out this Amoonguss. At best, we have the Ice Beam on Kyogre, but that's not going to be very reliable. I do get my Rain Dance up, thankfully, so that's going to weaken the Koraidon, and if the Raging Bolt comes back out, it's also going to be weakened. See, at this point now I'm afraid of this Amoonguss being able to spore my Flutter Mane, so I end up deciding to send the Kyogre back in, but it also helps that Raging Bolt is gone, so there's no more electric attacks being flung at it. At this point I'm not really sure what I want to do, if I want to prioritize the Koraidon or the Amoonguss, but I decided I end up wanting to prioritize the Koraidon because I think he's going to be the bigger threat, so I double into it with Ice Beam and Thunder. But the Amoonguss ends up doing Rage Powder, so all my attacks are going to be thrown at him instead. He is firing off another meaty collision course, but thankfully because the rain is up, it doesn't do nearly as much damage. Of course, the Amoonguss eats my Thunder like it's absolutely nothing, but we do get the paralysis, which could be pretty big. The Ice Beam fires off, and unfortunately just misses the kill. And of course he has a berry. So now he's out of range of my Jolteon being able to finish him off, and Kyogre is going dead last on this field outside of the Amoonguss. So I decided to target into the Koraidon once again, but at this point I'm pretty confident my Kyogre is going to go down. And I do fire my Jolteon into the Koraidon as well, kind of hoping maybe I can get that paralysis going. Surprisingly enough, he ends up withdrawing the Amoonguss again, which is honestly great for me since I chose to ignore it for now. But unfortunately, the Raging Bolt is back, and I'm about to lose my Kyogre. But if there is any benefit to this though, both dragon types are out on the field and we still have Flutter Mane in the back. The thunder does go off, and unfortunately for him, we get the paralysis. Now this paralysis is pretty big, because we're down 3-2, but 2 of his best mounts are paralyzed. So at this point, there's really only one play for me left. I Terra, and I'm going to fire off a Moonblast into this guy, hopefully being able to finish him off. Both these guys are kind of weak at this point. They're still well above half, but I don't believe either of them should be able to live a Terra-boosted Moonblast. He ends up withdrawing the Koraidon, which does surprise me, but I believe the reason he did this is because he wants to get his sun back up. I Terra the Flutter Mane, which is great, because now I'm going to be immune to all dragon attacks, and I'm going to easily outspeed everything on the field that isn't priority. Unfortunately, I did target the Koraidon, who swapped into the Amoonguss, so I barely do any damage to it whatsoever. And he hits me with Snarl, lowering both of my Mon's special attack. And of course, these are my 2 special attackers. Even worse, Jolteon is basically completely helpless at this point in the battle, because everything on that side of the field is resisting my Water Weather Balls and my Thunders. I fire off the Moonblast into the Raging Bolt. Thankfully, it does take it down, and we are now kind of in this game. It is unfortunate that the Koraidon is going to have the sun set up because it is going to boost its attack. This might benefit me. Jolteon is rocking the move Weather Ball. And Weather Ball's type changes depending on the weather. Now that the sun is set up, my Weather Ball He does whip out that late game Terra though, so this is the part where I start getting nervous. And of course Koraidon is rocking a Fire Terra type, and this means he now resists my Moonblast. So I fire off the Moonblast, and it barely does anything. It went from being quad affected to resisted. But thankfully we are able to finally finish off that Amoonguss. It is a 2v1, but it ain't looking good. He fires a Flame Charge into my Jolteon, taking it out from near full health, and he's now faster. So at this point, I have no idea if I'm going to outspeed him or not. It's really all going to come down to who outspeeds who in this next turn. Unfortunately, there is a communication error, so I don't actually know if it counted as a win for me or not. But it really would have been a coin flip as to whether I would have won or not. But I believe it did count as a win since it said I would be getting rewards. So a win is a win. Unfortunately, despite our lack of progress and actual wins, this video has already gotten pretty long, so I'm going to have to end it here. There were so many more battles I had recorded and wanted to show off, but prefer to keep these videos short. That being said, most of those battles do end in a loss, so I know there's a lot of room for improvement with this team. I know this video is pretty different from the kind of content I usually make, so if you did enjoy it, please let me know down in the comments. I plan on coming back to this because I really want to make Jolteon work with the current competitive scene. But for now, this has been your favorite fruit, Kiwi. Also, just saying, if they gave Jolteon adaptability, he'd probably be really good.